Riccio, yep. Glad to be here, Marcus. Thanks for having me. Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to be here. And just overall, it's an interesting story. Um, I have a long experience in marketing. I used to run the marketing department at a billion-dollar company called Loomis back before my entrepreneurship days, and enjoyed that. But always wanted to kind of do something on the side. And probably about 7 years ago, I started my e-commerce brand in 2016. It was a men's jewelry brand that led me to develop a marketing agency. And I've had my marketing agency for about 4.5 years now. We're a digital marketing agency focused um, on lead generation, website development. We work with lawyers, hospitality. Done so well in hospitality that we actually opening a bar called Moswell, which is the name of my agency. Um, and through that, I've always liked having my own projects, and decided to kind of start my own personal branding, which sort of the journey of payment processing started about 3 years ago when one of my buddies is an NFL agent, and we went to the Super Bowl together, right? And hanging out with celebrities, hanging out with football players and whatnot in Atlanta, and phenomenal Super Bowl, tons of events, and I ended up hanging out with the president and the COO of these like large companies. One was old VP of Chase, and another one was a COO of this company called Pfizer. And asking around and talking, I come to find out that these guys are making like $14 million a year in commissions, right? And I'm like, what the heck are you guys doing? Because I need to get in on this, right? And they tell me they're like, we're in the credit card processing industry, and I'm like, I don't know what the credit card processing industry is, but if you can make 14 million in residual commission a year, I was like, I need to be in that, right? So after about a year of figuring out what to do, kind of getting kicked around by a lot of different companies, and not really getting any training. There was nobody there to really like help me uh, get onboarded and no specific process and system. I eventually built my own portfolio, worked with a bunch of different processors and a bunch of different banks and acquirers and all this different stuff. And man, this industry is just, it's intentionally confusing because they don't want people to get in here and be able to do what some of these bigger players are doing at scale, right? Because at the end of the day, the reason why this business is so lucrative is because banks and other processors want to acquire portfolios like this and residual income portfolios because it's something called free cash flow, right? Banks, when banks are making free cash flow, they are allowed to now lend on that free cash flow. If that makes sense. Up to correct. Exactly. Yeah. So the whole thought behind it is, again, um, as you're selling and growing your portfolio, what you're actually selling is a service that is provided to merchants, right, that need to process credit card payments. And what you can sell them are either physical devices, Like if you're at the grocery store, or let's say you're at Chipotle and you want to slide your credit card at the little ATM term or the little credit card terminal, we're either selling them those devices, or we're working with companies that are collecting cards online, like an Amazon or at your favorite e-commerce website where you shop at, right? Or maybe somebody that you're paying, like let's say you went to the optometrist or the dentist and you need to pay over the phone. They're collecting cards in a card not present format. We sell this hardware and software to these companies, and whoever sells the solution to that merchant makes a residual commission every single month on every single dollar that's processed, right? So to go back to where I was going with this, you know, I it's a very complex industry, right? And there's a lot of players in the game, and I kind of figured, hey, this should be easier, right? And there should be people that do this together in sort of a group and a team format. So that's where I kind of started taking everything that I learned over the last 3 years in the industry and kind of trying to figure out who are the best partners I can partner with, what are the best systems that I could, you know, um, use to most effectively scale and sell my portfolio, and then what are the best marketing avenues and channels that I can use to actually sell these services, right? So that's kind of how I got started in this space, and that's kind of where things are at. Absolutely, exactly. Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. There, there's a couple different answers to that question. Um, there are some. Obviously, you have the large companies like your Squares or your Stripes that are a large SaaS model, right? Software as a service, and they offer their services to everybody, right? And people are looking for those services online. They come to those providers and they sometimes go with them, but eventually some businesses aren't the right risk profile for those, and eventually their accounts end up getting shut down. So that's one type. Another type is independent service organization, similar to what I do, but they're more of a hierarchical top-down structure corporate company that has a lot of overhead, right? They have finance people, accounting, HR. They actually sometimes do the actual solutioning and servicing themselves, right? And that's great, but there's a lot of overhead involved with that. And when I spoke about free cash flow earlier, my scenario is I'm trying to keep my overhead as low as possible and my team's overhead as possible. So I've sort of like to think that I've created the only unique scenario here where this is a group coaching and mentorship program that helps sales reps, maybe people that are in solar or have sold alarm systems in the past, or that are high performers at a tech company, or maybe a VP of sales that's out there, wanting to start his own business and has the money to invest in scaling their own systems. I've created what I like to coin as a decentralized sales organization that allows everybody together to kind of collectively be a part of this, community, um, be a part of, this mentorship, and then also have access to a curriculum where they can continually refresh themselves in their knowledge. And then, in addition to that, have access to systems to help them systematically scale and exit their portfolio extremely, extremely easily. Correct. Yeah, you could say that. Overall, short answer to that is that Stripe and Square are probably going to be the first choice for you, but not the best choice, right? They might have higher fees, they might not have as good customer service, and they might not have a good POS solution compared to some of the other smaller solutions that are out there. But again, those are tech companies. And with that comes VC dollars, large amounts of investments, and just overall fantastic partnerships that allow them to be everywhere at once, if that makes sense. Kind of, yes, exactly. So, I mean, technically, I mean, you could compare it to that. Yes, essentially, we're selling a solution that is needed by a business, and every time that business charges their customers on a credit card, they get the sales rep gets a small piece of every single transaction. Yes. Yeah. No, that's a fantastic question. I appreciate you asking that because it brings up a lot of past experiences. I think coming from the digital marketing space, um, I'm in a position where a lot of people need my assistance, right? So there's two things to that. I would say that a big lesson that I've learned is that one, you can't help everyone, right? Not everybody is your perfect customer. Um, that's one. And then two, I think it's focusing on scalable systems. As an entrepreneur, it's so easily get have shiny object syndrome and have so many different projects happening at once, right? I've talked to people that are like, "Oh, I'm doing Airbnb and an e-commerce store and Amazon," and it's like they're not getting anywhere with any of them. So, a difficult thing that I've had to do in the past is to really learn to let go of some other projects if I want to see some of them really succeed, right? And to focus on one thing. And there's other projects that I have that I've had to learn to let go of so that I can focus on something that's really going to take me, to the next level. And this year my goals, my New Year's resolution was only focus on scalable systems and only focus on things that can scale up, right, and not be that sort of one to one, selling structure that so many people fall sort of prey to. Yeah, absolutely. The best thing that I would suggest is that you kind of have to go all in, right? I kind of think back to Grant Cardone's book 10x, and I think that work life balance is a fallacy. Um, I think anybody that thinks that they can have a work life balance and really go to the place, like if you know that you really want to go somewhere and you have a specific expectation of your life and where you see yourself and where you want to go, I think that you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to get there. And, you know, I like to work hard, play hard. I think that's a different thing than balance because I feel like, yeah, there's some times recently where I've been putting in, working till 2 a.m. and putting in 12, 14-day hours, right? Or hour days. And I don't like that. But for example, one thing that I do is I carve time out for, my mental health, which is working out, like whenever I go hard in work, I make sure that I go even harder in the gym, in taking my wife out to dinners, making sure that we're going on our vacations. And I tend to like to go into sort of blitz mode and what I call monk mode, where I'll just grind for 30, 45 days, where you're working out, meditating every day, not drinking, and, you know, working towards that one specific goal. And then you can kind of loosen up a little bit. So I think that, the pendulum always swings in life, and sometimes things are a little bit slower and going easier. And sometimes things are on the other end and very hectic and stressful. And you just need to know yourself inside and what are the things that you need to do as a person to make sure that your mental is right, your physical is right, your relationships are right, but you can also be a badass and work as hard as you can to get done what you need, what it's needed, right? Absolutely, awesome question. I think there's a couple different traits that I think, first and foremost is resilience. If you want anything to work for you, it's not going to happen overnight, right? And I think that everybody is so distracted with the lure of getting rich quick that, like trading, for example, is a great example of this. People think they're going to get rich super fast, and then they blow their accounts trading, and now you're out of the game, right? And the number one rule of entrepreneurship is stay in the game, right? Because if you continue to stay in the game, you're just going to learn more and get better. And I don't really believe in failures. I just believe in lessons learned, right? So I think that resilience is number one. Two is you got to know yourself, right? Because within my system, I teach multiple different ways of how to generate leads, how to create scalable systems for these things to work for you. So, I don't expect every single person to get in there and cold call, people and try to sell, right? But if you're the type of person that, you maybe were in solar sales and you want to door knock and you just want to have as many conversations as possible, you need to know what works for you so that you can then implement those systems, maybe not just in my system, but within anything that you do, right? And start to learn, what are your character traits and characteristics that will allow you to succeed. And then sort of you need to rely on those and find where the highest leverage, you know, levers are within your personality and within your drive to be able to achieve those results that you're looking for. Sorry, I can't hear you. Still can't hear you for some reason. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, again, awesome question. I think that Yeah. 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 No, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. It's tough because it's only until your back's up against the wall and that you want something as hard as you want to breathe that you're really going to see success. I truly firmly believe in that, you know? And then I think that you have to put yourself out there regardless. Like everybody I think has dealt with that sort of level of imposter syndrome. Getting into that program that you and I are in together, and it's a paradigm shift when I get in there and there's 20 other successful entrepreneurs all selling courses, all working together, multiple six figures. And when everybody's like, dude, yeah, you should be selling your course for 5,000, like, that's a big mental shift for me, even personally. And I think that there's levels to it. Like, I would love, I'm going to continue to increase my prices as I get more people in my training. And right now I'm really more concerned with just being able to help people get into the space and creating the best curriculum possible. So I want to get as much feedback possible so I can understand from everybody, like, how is this going to be something that is worth a $10,000 course, right? I know that I'm going to get there, but for me, it's all about providing the most amount of value. So, you know, it goes back to what I was talking about earlier is, at some point I wanted to start working on my own personal brand. And I decided, hey, I want to take a risk on this. I want to build a sales team together. I was bored of selling alone, and I wanted to work within a sales team and create a sales organization of people working together. And that's when I decided, man, I was like, I'm going to put this together. And I started to realize that this industry is way more complex than I thought. And then over the course of the 2, 3 years, that's where it's like, man, I really put in the amount of work and research in the industry so I could, get to the point where I'm at now and offer the services that I do. For sure, for sure. I mean, being that I'm in the marketing industry and in sales, man, it's there's nothing but failures in this space, right? So many deals have fallen through. So many grand opportunities that are presented seem to never materialize. That's just a part of the game and a part of business. Not every deal is going to go through. Not every deal is meant to be a part of the path of your entrepreneurial journey. And I think that you just end up getting used to it, man. Um, that's where I think my biggest recommendation. Part of that question was having a system that works for you as a new entrepreneur is the best way that you can learn to fail, but learn to fail within one space so that those failures and lesson learned stack up very quickly. Versus if you're doing multiple projects and your failures are only stacking up like this and success is up here, how are you going to get there the fastest? One thing, fail fast and vertically, or are you going to make multiple things horizontally and then slowly fail across multiple different subjects until eventually you reach a point where you're like, oh, okay, now I have a wealth of knowledge. Exactly. Yeah. Um, Success within the payment space. Obviously, we talked about having the mentorship, and aside from the mentorship and teaching students, you know, success is really defined by two things: volume of credit card processing transactions per month, and then your residual, right? Um, Growing your residual, depending on the type of customers that you go after, if it's like lower volume type customers and more of those, it creates a larger baseline and support versus having like three big fish and then potentially losing one. So I have yet to exit my portfolio. I like my monthly checks, and I know that I like knowing that that's sort of equity that I have, and then I could create a liquidation event at any point that I would need a potentially large investment. Um, so personally, I have not, but work with many people that have, and I've positioned our company in a way where we have created a system that is so transparent and foolproof that if you were looking to exit your portfolio, everything is so clear as day that it would be extremely easy for someone to be interested in purchasing and acquiring those portfolios. Yeah, my next big goal is probably gonna take me the next 24 months. Probably 100K residuals, probably doing 100K months as well within our coaching program. Um, and then I think those 100K months though aren't going to come from a volume of people. I'd like my course to go up in price and to be working with a smaller subset of people that are actually like really really dedicated to this, right? So I think those are both very attainable goals that I can achieve over the next 12 months. Is 100K in course sales and 100K in residuals a month for sure. Yeah, awesome question. Um, right now, it is myself, the partners, and slash coaches within the course, which there are one coach that is specifically in the marketing space. I have another coach specifically in the payment processing space. I've got a couple of VAs. I've got a couple of setters. I got my sales team. And then there will be a point where we're going to need to grow more on the finance side. As I have more people on my team, I want to provide exceptional reconciliation support. So when people's residuals come out, if anybody has any questions on what they should be getting paid, I want extremely fast turnaround time and transparency, something that's not very prevalent in this space. And then probably I'm going to keep it mostly virtual, no overhead. I'll probably hire a president of the company at some point so that I don't have to sort of be running everything. And then I built a lot of, you're aware of this, we're in a similar program. I've used a lot of systems and automations to make sure that everything that I'm building is centered around scalability and using these automated systems like, your ManyChats and Zapiers and, Go High Level automations and CRMs to ensure that you can get that scalability with a very lean team. Yeah, man. I mean, I use it to create content. You know, I think that anybody that creates their own content nowadays, in terms of like, either editing, obviously, I use an AI editing app called Captions, and that's phenomenal for editing content. Coming up with content ideas, I mean, it's just easy to pop in, give me 30 content ideas on this specific, industry with this specific tone, in the style of this person, and then it gives, all of these ideas, and then it scripts them for me, and then I can just create these great scripts using my and ad lib my stories and my experiences into those things, right? Um, so that's a great way that I use AI. And then not only that, but I think people should use AI as a confidence booster. Like no one should ever say, I don't know how to do something anymore, right? Because it's just like one search away, man. It's like, how should I increase my course sales? All right, let's ask ChatGPT, and there's your plan. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Right. Sure. Sure. Yeah. I think the first goal is, I have my compensation structure laid out in four different tiers. You start as a grasshopper, you go up to a monk, a warrior, and then you become ascended, right? In an ascension system. And the way that I have it laid out is like at the very beginning, I just want people to get 10 deals. Man, 10 deals equals like $1,000 to $2,000 a month, on autopilot. So like just imagine, somebody that's already just struggling to make 2,500 a month, and now all of a sudden in 3-4 months, or you could even do that in 1 month, you're making an extra $2,000, and you can stop there, man, and just recoup the money, make 24 grand extra that year. Or you could continue on and hit that next milestone, which is, around 5K a month in monthly residuals, which a lot of people, need around 5K to quit their 9 to 5s, right? And at that point, either if you're somebody that's in a 9 to 5 and you make 5K a month, man, you can reinvest that money into ads. You can hire VAs. You can hire cold callers. Like you can really start investing money straight back into your business and scale it to that 10K a month strategy, right? Once you're at that 10K, now you quit your job. Now you're investing 4 or 5K into the business every month. And before you know it, within another 3 to 6 months, you're at 20K, and that creates a scenario where you're like, hey, maybe I want to sell off half my portfolio, cash out $400,000, and now I'm making $10,000 a month on autopilot, and I have 400 grand in the bank. So that's sort of the system and the scalable system that I teach my students, and it's really about liberty, man. If you want to have the freedom to work every day, work 6 months out of the year and take off the rest, like this system allows you to do that, and it allows you to scale it as well. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. Love to come back anytime and you know keep talking. Yeah, the best way to learn about me and what I do is go to my Instagram. It's at Giorgio Riccio. So it's GIORGIORICCIO. And there you can find more information about me, the payment processing industry, my life, the Ascension sales team, and how to sort of start your journey in the payment processing space if so inclined.